So this is a video on how to paint plague drones of Nurgle. And as you can see, we've done 3 of them up. So if you'd like to see how we got to where we are today, feel free to stay tuned and I'll show you how we got here with another painting tutorial on how to paint plague drones of Nurgle. Stay tuned. So as you can see here, we've got them assembled. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to take the plague drones and we're going to use Zandri dust, and what we're going to do is do the wings as well as the body and legs of the fly. So with a well watered down layer, we're just going to start painting away. So we finished our Zandri dust, and as you can see, we did both the wings and the bodies of the flies as well as the legs themselves. What we're going to do now is start on the PlagueBearers, and I have a video already online about how to do the PlagueBearers, but we're going to throw it in here because this is what we're running. What we're going to start with is a double layer of Athonian Camoshade, just using the Camoshade on the PlagueBearers. And it doesn't matter if you make a mess because the Carapace of the bugs are going to get done with a darker black color in a little bit, so that's why we're doing the shades now. This is after the first layer of Camoshade is finished, and we're going to do a second layer once this is dry. So now that the 2 coats of Athonian Camoshade is finished, what we're going to do now is take a little bit of Mephiston red, and what we're going to do is we're going to do all of the wounds on both the PlagueBearers as well as the plague drones. So all of the gore and things hanging out here, like so. And like that there. So we're going to do that for the other 3, for the other 2, and then we'll be back here again. So with all the Mephiston red finished, what we're going to do now is take a little bit of Ungor flesh, and we're going to do all the pustules that are present. So with a very fine detail brush, what we're going to do is just start tapping on all of these little pustules that are here. Like so, just lighten them all up. Or the PlagueBearer, and on the plague drone as well. Now that all the Ungor flesh is done, and all the boxes are filled out, we also did a little bit of Zandri dust on the top of the horns. What we're going to do next is take a little bit of lead belcher and go over just the 3 swords, just to give them a base metallic coat, just like that. And we're using it well watered down, so it may take 2 coats, like anything else we usually do. So now that we have the swords finished, what we're going to do is take a good watered down layer of Eshen gray, and we're going to do the carapace and the claws at the end of the legs, as well as the top trim at the top of the wings. So with this layer, we're going to be very careful to get inside the legs, but this is why we did the stain for the green first, because if it carried onto the carapace, it didn't matter. We could paint over it with the black, or the Eshen gray. From this point forward, we have to be a lot more careful, as this is the last base layer we're going to be doing. And you want to make sure you try not to go over any of the other base colors we have now. So now that we're finished with our layer of Eshen gray, you can see that they're really starting to take shape. So now what we're going to do is take just a little bit of Balthasar gold, and we're going to do just the bell that this particular PlagueBearer is holding. Now that the bell is finished, what we're going to do is take a little bit of Bugman's glow, and we're going to do the proboscises anything we find like that. This fella here has a little bit of a tongue, so we're going to paint that with our Bugman's Glow. And he also has this worm type tail at the bottom of him here. Like so. And with that, our base coats are finished. So now what we're going to do is start shading. Now, the first shade we're going to use is going to be Nuln Oil. And what we're going to do with that is just all of the wounds that are present. Just like that. We'll do the same for the other two. With the same Nuln Oil, what we're also going to do is do a shade on all of the carapaces. And anything that we did with the Eshen Gray. Just like that. So I'm going to do that for the other two and let that dry. With our Nuln Oil finished, what we're going to do now is add a shade of Agrax Earthshade. So we're going to put this over all of the Zandri dust that we did already, including the wings and the body of the big flies. Make sure you brush along the grain. I'm going to keep doing that for this bug and all the others. So you should end up with something very similar to this, and you'll note that we're doing a little bit of extra shade down on the bottom of the trunk because I do want that to be just a little bit darker than the rest. But the rest of that we'll get in the highlight stage. So that's where we are. Don't forget the back sides of the wings as well as the horn and the top of the PlagueBearer. So we'll do the other two and then we'll move on from there. So with the Agrax Earthshade finished, what we're going to do now is one more shade, and this time it's Reikland Fleshshade. So what we're going to do with that is all the areas around the wounds on both the PlagueBearers and the Plague Drones. So adding some redness and some woundedness to any place that looks injured. As well, we're going to do all of the pox. Just to make that festering and unhappy. Just like that. So we'll do the other two and we'll meet back here. So we just finished with our Agrax Earthshade, and on top of doing all of the Zandri dust, what we also did was we did the swords as well to make them a bit more rusted and putrid, and we did the bell as well. So our next step is going to be to take a dry brush of Kislev flesh, and I'm going to go over all of the wounds in the bodies of the PlagueBearers, as well as just dust on a little bit on the wounds on the side of the plague drones. So we're just going to take that Kislev flesh and just give a little dry brush to the inside there. Just like that. So now what we're going to do is a dry brushing of Zandri dust over the wings, the panels, just to lighten them up a bit and give them another highlight. Just like that, just to brighten up the edges a little bit. And we're going to do that for the legs. And the rest of the body. So we'll do that and we'll meet back here. So now that we've finished the Zandri dust dry brush, we're going to go back over the pustules with Ungar flesh. So we're going to take our very fine detail brush and we're just going to highlight the center of each of those pustules and light them back up, because we did shade them with the Reikland Fleshshade earlier. So once that's done, we'll meet back here. What we're going to do is a very, very small layer of Emperor's Children on just the fly that has the tongue. Giving it just a little bit of a pink highlight there. Now what we're going to do is take a small dry brush layer of Cadian Fleshtone, and we're going to do the proboscises at the bottom of the plague drones. And now with a very fine detail brush, what we're going to do is take a little bit of Screaming Skull, and we're going to do the teeth. We're also going to do the teeth of the PlagueBearer as well. Like so. And then finally we're going to do the teeth on the Proboscis. Like that. I will do for the other two as well. Now this is a completely elective step if you like. You can leave the carapaces the way they're colored now. I'm going to lighten them up a little bit. I'm going to use a layer of Dawnstone, and I'm going to just dry brush over the carapace itself. I have no interest in doing the arms of the wings. So it's basically just the carapace straight out. So something like that there. We'll do the other ones, and then we'll meet back here again. So now that we finished that, and the carapaces are nice and highlighted, what we're going to do is take a little bit of Rhinox hide, really watered down. And what we're going to want to do with that is just put a little bit on the tips of the horns. And with the extra watered, you can blend it a little bit easier. And we put considerable Agrax Earthshade on it earlier, all to make it easy to blend. So now we're going to do that highlight layer on the bell. And we're going to use a little bit of Brass Scorpion, which is a good highlight for the base that we used. A little shinier there. Like so. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take just a tiny bit of Nurgling green, and we're going to trim the edges of all of the wounds on the PlagueBearers. Just like that. And now with a very fine detail brush, we're going to take some Uriel yellow, and we're going to do the eyes of the PlagueBearers. Then what we're going to do is we're going to take Abaddon black, and with a very fine detail brush again, we're going to do the eyes of the plague drones themselves. Like that. And we're going to do the other two. There is a spot where there is a little bit of slime or exudate of some sort coming out of the tail. So we're going to do that with a little bit of moot green. And all we're going to do just slime that up a little bit. Something like that. I believe that's the only one that's there. Finally, we're going to take a little bit of the Nihilakh Oxide, which is basically just copper rust. Make a little bit there. And put some on, and then we'll wipe it off a little. And on the back side where there's lots of spaces. We'll fill it in quite nicely, and then just rub some of it off to keep some of the shine there. So this is our models as they stand now. We've taken the time to base them. So now we've got some sand and such on the bottom of them. So they're looking quite good. What we're going to do now is clear coat them. So after we clear coat them, what we're going to do is add two different things. We're going to add a little bit of ard coat over the eyes, just to give them a gloss shine. And we're going to add Nurgle's rot over all of the wounds in the stomachs, as well as anything that's dripping slime like this spot here. And we'll probably put some ard coat over the wounds as well to make them shiny and gloopy. So we'll do all that and we'll come back here. So this is the finished product of our painting. And as you can see, what we did was we took the ard coat and we put it in the wounds, as well as we made the eyes nice and glossy. As you can see, they shine really nicely. Did that on both sides here as well as over there, and that made it festering and wet and really stands out. We then took the Nurgle's rot, which is basically just ard coat with some dye, and we threw it into the wounds here as well as the wounds here, and then we also put some on the moot green slime that we did earlier. So that's our finished models, ready for gaming. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, I want you to hit a like, and we'll catch it on this end. If you really find the channel helpful, feel free to subscribe, and we'll see you the next time we do something. All right, thanks a lot, and you guys have a wonderful gaming session.